is because this is where I'm going to be utilizing the most smooth stone, by virtue of I'm going to be using it to build all of the farms, such as the kelp farm, for example. The kelp farm is going to be made out of smooth stone when I move it over, because in case you're new here, there is a chunk border right between these two lanterns here, as well as a chunk border right there. I actually need to mark out that chunk border. Let me retrieve these. Every time you see smooth stone in this little 2x2 grid pattern that I've been using, that means there's a chunk border there. Because I used to mark it out with these lanterns. I did that when I had a chunk border texture pack. However, it doesn't have the vertical chunks in the texture pack, meaning the texture pack throws an error whenever I load it up, because there's just no what do you call it? If I don't go down there, I'm just going to forget. There's no vertical shaders marked out in the texture pack, which means as the texture pack tries to load in, it throws an error. Now, because of the way Minecraft is built, Minecraft handles the error just fine. It doesn't actually crash or anything. Minecraft is just like, okay, well, there's an error in your texture pack. Make a note of that. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But at the same time, I could make a lot of barrels right now, but I think I'll wait on that because I still need to do a lot of digging. And if I wanted to make a bunch of barrels, I'd instead need to actually head to the nearby forest. I was just kind of hoping to do some digging this time around. Therefore, I think I'll stick with the plan, do some digging on this hillside here in order to gather up the materials needed for my base to expand. I need the dirt, I need the materials, I need a lot of stuff. Autosave. Nice. As you can see, the grass has not spread onto these blocks because of the path blocks specifically in the way. The path blocks are preventing the grass from spreading this way, allowing me to easily and quickly just travel through, get everything done. I don't need to worry about, is there grass in the way? I don't need to worry about, is there a lot of materials that need to be excavated? Instead, I can just go through, get it done. It's fine. Much easier that way. Okay. Got that pickaxe out of the way. Onwards to the next pickaxe. You will notice I did just reserve some stone in my inventory. I reserved some space for stone. The reason for that is because I do expect to find more stone as I excavate all of this. I have dug into the hillside quite a bit. Yeah, there's a lot of dirt to excavate, but at the same time, there's a lot of stone to excavate as well. Let me make sure I grabbed all the materials. If it fell on the ground or anything. Yep, okay. While I'm at it, I shall go through and just do another pass on the dirt. Progress is advancing. One thing I do need to be careful of is Enderman. Enderman can put down grass blocks. No, the goat did not just teleport, he jumped. The goat jumped. It just jumps really high, really far. Okay. Anyways, Dragonus was definitely extremely difficult to kill, primarily because she was a shadow sorcerer when she converted to 3.5 edition. Which has the special ability, the class ability, of Strength from the Grave, which basically means when she is reduced to 0 hit points, there is a chance that instead of dropping to 0 and falling unconscious, she will instead drop to 1. She managed to get that ability triggered every time. And it's like, well, how did she manage that? Well, it's partially due to how the damage works. You see, when she's dropped to 0, there is the chance that she will not go all the way to 0. However, it's a contested roll, a charisma save, I believe it was, against the damage dealt. However, the way it's phrased, the way I interpreted it, is that the fair ruling on that ability is that it's the damage dealt that would have dropped you to 0 or lower. And in Dragonus' case, sometimes the damage would have killed her had she not rolled. There is a minimum DC of 10, I think. DC, of course, standing for difficulty check in this case. So there's a minimum difficulty of 10, which means that the lowest she would ever need to roll is 10. She will never need to roll lower than a 10. If she does roll lower than a 10, that means she failed, obviously. I definitely don't want to be out here at night because I have taken out all of the torches in order to make all of these path blocks. Therefore, all of the monsters are able to freely just spawn out there. I should go to sleep and not let the monsters spawn. The monsters are already spawning by this point. Yeah, they spawn like by that spot. The moon's all the way up there. There's probably a bunch of monsters over there already. This is going to be a pain, isn't it? Nope, doesn't look like any really spawned out here. That's good. Oop, autosave. I'm getting pretty close on my reserved dirt already. Means I'll have to go restocking the barrel of dirt pretty soon because I just need the inventory space by that point. But yeah, the way the ability works, the way I interpreted it is, if it would have dropped you to 0, that would be the cutoff point for how much damage to calculate for that ability, for the difficulty. Meaning, if it wouldn't have dropped you to 0, it's not counted, and the reason for that ability acting that way is because a lot of the times the things that are going to target you is going to be doing things like 50 damage in a hit, and it's like, well, how am I going to possibly survive that? Like, I can't even roll that high on a d20. It's like, oh, well, you're not supposed to survive it. It's like, well, then what's the point of the ability? It makes it a useless ability, because then you're getting maybe a 5% chance that you'll survive, if that. And mind you, you're rolling a d20, so a 5% chance is like, basically you got to roll an at 20. It's like, that's an entirely useless ability. It's great at low levels, but it doesn't scale. I want an ability that scales, because if the ability scales, then that means the ability is useful. Even at higher levels, it's still going to be an ability that I'm able to actually actively use. I can actually utilize that ability. It's not going to just sit there unused for who knows how many sessions in a row where I'm just sitting there twiddling my thumbs going, well, my character died when the dragon did its dragon breath. It's like, yeah, sorry. I'd love to help, guys, but I died when the dragon did its dragon breath. Why? Because my ability didn't activate, because I couldn't roll that high. Didn't even get to roll it. It's like, oh, well, that kind of just sucks. It's like, yeah, it does. That way, like, this way I at least get to use it. If I have 20 health and the dragon does 50, it's like, okay, you're just instantly dead. Instead, it's more like, okay, I have 20 health, the dragon did 50, however, because my charisma is like a plus 10, if I roll in that 20, I'll live, guaranteed, because, since it's a charisma save, that would mean, oh, that was the other thing. Since she was a sorcerer, she was proficient in Constitution saves. So despite Constitution being her, one of her 2 dump stats, because she invested pretty much all of her stats into intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, and also dexterity. She was very dexterous, very charismatic, very wise, very intelligent, not very durable. She had trouble concentrating on things, stuff like that, but because of that, she ironically was great at concentrating on things because she was proficient in it. She was proficient in Constitution saving throws. And they were just like, how are you able to never need to worry about any of this stuff I'm throwing at you? And it's like, look, it's simple. If you really want to deal with all of the people dealing all the damage, don't focus on the sorcerer. Okay, yes, the sorcerer is dealing a lot of damage, but you know who's dealing more damage? The barbarian. Okay, the barbarian is dealing so much more damage. Okay. Instead, I'm just doing what a sorcerer does. I'm being charismatic. I'm being like, yeah, look at me, I'm cool. And it's like, you are useless after this fight. You know that, right? You remember that? It's like, yeah, I know. They're like, good, because you're acting like you aren't going to remember that. It's like, well, of course I'm going to remember it. You're going to remind me every single time. And I'm going to be complaining that I really need to take a nap. Because, you know, my character is really tired from expending all of their concentration and all of their thinking process on casting magic. Which is actually how magic kind of works. It's very, very laborious for the mind. In case you ever wondered why it's like that, D&D, in case you were unaware, is actually based on a lot of different actual cultures and mythos and all kinds of different things that we have in real life, you know. It's got a mental fatigue component, which allows you to make use of needing to rest after, you know, doing lots of spell casting. The only ones who don't really get affected by this are, for example, warlocks, which have their power given to them by some other entity. And of course, since that entity is probably just constantly lounging around, being, you know, whatever archfey, archdemon, what have you, they end up with instead quite the repertoire, as it were, for not needing to rest. However, it's more accurate to say that they're reallocating where all of the resting goes. Which means if a DM wanted to rule, or a GM technically, wanted to rule that, you know, maybe warlocks are a little overpowered, a good way to nerf warlocks is to make the ruling that the warlock's patron, not Patreon, the warlock's patron needs to perform a long rest, because that's where they're getting their actual spell slots from, is the patron. You know, if the patron is too exhausted to provide the spells, then yeah, the warlock doesn't really get their spell slots. Which means if your players are just going complete min-max and going full-on overpowered, you can definitely fix that by just, you know, making it so that the patron has to actually rest a little more. It can be like, well, you know, all that time where you were recovering your spells with your sorcerer spell slots and this, that, and the other. Yeah, you were abusing the system, but you were also abusing your patron, because your patron's sitting there providing you all of these spell slots, and you're just, you know, going ham on recovering your spell slots using your sorcerer points. So yeah, you got your spell slots back, but your patron sat there in a rather weakened state for an extended period of time, and now your patron's in danger, so now you have to go on this massive mega quest to help your patron out, because if you don't, yeah, you're not going to have spell slots for your next short rest, because your patron might die. It's like, oh my, you know? So you can nerf your players in that way, if they're going too overboard on you. you can definitely balance things if you're just a little bit creative with how you handle things. Okay, it's about to be sunset again. I'm sitting here putting down path blocks because I don't want this section to have a bunch of grass. Let me redo that. Let me see. Boop. Merge that into there. Boop. 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 Now I can put those there. I can drop the shovel down. There we go. Yeah, I saw that coming from a mile away. Anyways, since Dragonus was a sorcerer, of course, Dragonus was very self-reliant. Like, she just naturally had magical ability, or in her case, technically it was unnaturally had magical ability because her magical ability stemmed from her encounter in her youth with Hades. Dragonus, as I mentioned, encountered Hades in her youth. She managed to convince Hades to not kill her because she did something stupid, and Hades was like, well, you're dead, you're coming with me. And she was like, well, can I get a second chance? And he was like, normally, no. However, you look interesting. You know, you managed to die in a very unique manner. You managed to catch my interest. I'll tell you what, I'm this immortal, undead, super ancient god, and you are a mortal. You are just some normal mortal being. You are a normal mortal, you know? And it's like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? Well, being an ancient immortal being gets kind of boring. So I'll tell you what, I will let you live if you remain interesting. I'll be watching, and if you stay interesting, I'll let you live. If, however, you are not interesting, I can just show up and harvest your soul. I can, take you to the underworld because you're boring, Why would I let you live? Are you kidding me? It's like, well, we made a deal. It's like, okay. But like, you get the idea. She can live so long as she doesn't get boring. And it's like, well, that just sounds like an excuse to do whatever you want with your character. Kind of yes, kind of no. It's more, Dragonus doesn't have a choice in a lot of the things that she does either because of this. Therefore, Dragonus definitely has limited options when it goes as far as what she's allowed to do. Sometimes she will... oh yeah, that's another thing. I didn't pave this because this was lower than the height level that I was wanting. Which means I need to actually pave all of this as well. Oof. Actually, no, I suppose I can just get away with digging this out for the moment. Now that's cordoned off so that I don't have to deal with it. So yeah, that definitely affects Dragonus's options as far as character development, because there are certain things that Dragonus is not allowed to do. You know, she's not allowed to take the boring, safe option every time. She has to remain interesting in order to not upset Hades. That being said, Hades never really instructed her on what Hades finds interesting. So she's just kind of blindly doing whatever she thinks Hades might find interesting. Which is definitely a unique aspect of their relationship, because she's sitting there trying to be interesting for a god, you know, trying to amuse a god. Which I don't know if you've ever tried to amuse a god, but if you can fathom amusing a god, you're probably doing something wrong. Because chances are, you're probably not doing it right, you know? It's just a high likelihood that you're not doing it right. Whatever you're trying to do to amuse a god, you're probably not doing it right. Now, that's not to say that it's impossible to amuse a god. It is very possible to amuse a god. It's just difficult, because no one can really fathom what it is that a god would want. You know? What amuses a god? Pro tip, if it's Loki, don't use the Hulk to amuse him. If you get that joke, hi. You've watched Avengers. Secondary pro tip, don't use Gamora to amuse the gods, because I think Loki's still suffering a little bit from the whole Bruce Banner incident. If he's not, well, that can be fixed. The joke there, of course, being, well, she's strong, she's green, must be Banner's sister. It's like, wait, Banner has a sister? What? No. Oh no. Oh no. It's like, Tony Stark, you're a jerk. It is definitely the type of phrase that Tony Stark would say. She's big, she's green, must be Banner's sister. It's like, Tony, shut up. That's hilarious, but shut up, Tony. You're not helping. It's like, I'm sorry, did you miss the part where he threw me off of my own tower? No, I remember that. Yeah, so does he. You know, I have Banner on speed dial, Loki. Sorry. It's like, yeah. Fun fact, Tony does have Banner on speed dial. It's just whether or not Banner picks up. That's what changes. Sometimes Bruce Banner just doesn't want people to bother him. I mean, he's the Hulk. That's normal for him. Okay. Now we are getting really close to being done with this field. And then once we've got the field completed, we can go back to carving out the mountain, which I have reduced to just a really large hill so far. Yeah, I think I will carve out around to here. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm running logistics on how to, basically chop off this little peninsula of workload here. That way I can just path block this whole section and then not need to worry about it. Because I don't want Endermen to actually become an issue while I'm excavating all of this. I don't want Endermen to show up, put down a grass block, and just start spreading grass all throughout all this. I went through a lot of shovels to, excavate all of this, and then more shovels to turn all of this into path blocks. Therefore, I don't want to have to, go back through and use more shovels to make more path blocks. Instead, I'm just going to path block all of it. Also, if Mojang ever adds some sort of effect to the path blocks, I will have that going for me, because I'll just have all of this section path blocked out, or path blocked in. I don't know which. I'll have this whole section covered in path blocks. That way I have a path, Paving. I don't know how I ended up switching from talking about my D&D character to talking about the Avengers. Let's go back to talking about D&D. Let's get back on topic, shall we? D&D has that tendency where people just get distracted and they'll start talking about whatever they were, tangentially thinking about when they were trying to perform some cool maneuver or something. D&D has a tendency to do that to people. I know that's not just me, but I also have ADHD on top of that, so it's kind of a lot worse for me. You may have noticed that in my videos. I have ADHD and I'm sitting here trying to multitask. Boy, is that a recipe for disaster, right? Oh boy. Anyways, Dragonis was... Let's see, where did I leave off with Dragonis' story? She was traveling through the mountains. Ah, right. She had met the time dude. This guy ended up... the time warp guy. This guy ended up... giving her the scroll, and she was like, well, okay, so she learned the time warp spell, which allowed her to jump forward or backwards 1 hour. And it's like, well, she can easily jump around in time, great. However, she immediately realized the danger in such an ability, the inherent danger of being able to change the past is, well, dangerous. It definitely opens the door for a lot of trouble, a lot of very, very deadly things if you change the past. You don't want to change the past too much. Like, you can maybe change the past for small things, but if you change the past too much, what ends up happening is that you might end up altering the past to a degree where, similar to Back to the Future, you end up making it so that you just don't exist anymore. And it's like, well, I don't want that. or worse, you might make it similar to the Prince of Persia series, where the Prince of Persia ended up being the thing which unleashed the sands of time, which then caused the Prince of Persia to first the Prince of Persia unleashed the sands of time into the hourglass, and then the Prince of Persia unleashed the sands of time from the hourglass, which then cursed the Prince of Persia's timeline to cause the Prince of Persia to be doomed, meaning his life was forfeit. He was supposed to die because he unleashed the sands of time. Any who unleash the sands of time are doomed to death. They're condemned to die. That's part of the whole sands of time thing. However, the Prince of Persia survived, which then caused the Guardian of Time to be upset, which was the creature, the entity known as the Dahaka. The Dahaka was, however, hurt by water. So the Dahaka was this very powerful, timeless entity which was hunting the Prince of Persia through all of these various misadventures that the prince was taking in their attempt to get free from this curse that they had inflicted upon themselves, mind you. However, they weren't fully aware that they were their own executioner, so to speak. The Prince of Persia was more under the impression that someone else had caused the sands of time to get released. So the Prince of Persia was just like, okay, so there's like this Empress of Time person, and apparently she's the reason the sands of time exist. So I'm just going to take her out. And there was this woman who was with him at the time, and she was like, I don't think that's a smart idea. And he was like, well, I'm going to change my fate no matter what. And she was like, you've inspired me. And he was like, oh, okay. What does that mean? And she was like, here's the thing. You came here to kill me. And he was like, wait, what? Who are you? Wait, you're her? Oh, shit, I like you. And she was like, well, I'm going to kill you, so you can't kill me. And it's like, you don't understand. I like you. I don't want to kill you. And she was like, I don't care. And so he had to kill her to prevent her from killing him. But then that, of course, unleashed the sands of time, which then sealed his fate, which then made him need to go back in time in order to stop himself from killing her. And he had to reveal to her somehow that he'd already done this before and he killed her previously and he didn't want to do it again. And she was like, wait, you killed me before? What? And he was like, yeah, I'm not even going to fight you. No, I refuse to fight you. And he threw his weapon down and said, I'm not fighting you. And she was like, oh, well, that was unexpected. And so he was like, yeah, because I kill you, the Dahaka comes after me because I unleashed the sands of time. That's why I'm here. Therefore, all I have to do to change my fate is not kill you. It's that simple, And she was like, huh, that's actually pretty amazing. However, in the process of everything, he ended up spoiler alert for those who have not yet beaten Prince of Persia: Two Thrones, as well as Prince of Persia: Warrior Within. Sorry, I just ruined Prince of Persia: Two Thrones, or sorry, Prince of Persia: Warrior Within. I forgot the spoiler alert on that, but it's how many years old by this point? If you haven't beaten that game yet, you probably don't need the spoiler warning. Like you really waited to play that game, apparently. But Prince of Persia: Warrior Within has you fighting the Empress of Time at the end, and then you're like, well, if you get all of the health upgrades, you'll just be like, well, I don't want to fight you. And she'll be like, oh, well, that kind of just solves everything, doesn't it? And it's like, yep. And then the Dahaka shows up and you're like, what are you here for? You're here because I kill her. Well, guess what? I didn't kill her. What are you here for? And then the Dahaka's like, I'm here for your amulet. You got the Amulet of Time, which has Sands of Time in it. Well, if she's still alive, the Sands of Time aren't supposed to exist. I'm the guardian of the timeline, therefore I need that amulet because it's not supposed to exist. I'm here to gather the things that aren't supposed to exist and just take them away so that they aren't bothering the timeline, And you're just like, oh, well, I suppose that works. And then it ends up falling off a cliff into an ocean, which definitely kills the Dahaka. Getting yeeted off a cliff will definitely kill you. Who'd have thunk? Especially when you land in the ocean afterwards. So then the Empress of Time and the Prince of Persia go sailing back all happy together. And they're like, oh, everything's wonderful. And then they come around the corner and they realize, oh, right. So there was this guy who betrayed my kingdom, who I killed because he betrayed my kingdom, because he unleashed the Sands of Time. However, because I just undid that betrayal, that guy's still alive because I never unleashed the Sands of Time because they don't exist. Instead, I just have, I just have this guy betraying me just like that. And it's like, oh, well, great. Now I have to kill this guy again. Except before you get a chance to, the first thing he does when you find out he's still alive is he kills the Empress of Time and unleashes the Sands of Time. And it's like, you asshole. I went through all this trouble to save her life so that the Sands of Time were not unleashed, and yet first thing you did is kill her. You ass. So you instead have to kill him because of that. Well, that and because he managed to turn himself into a monster by doing all of that. Hey, this is a good point in time where I get to remind you to like the video, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the channel so far. Let me know what you think of my Minecraft Let's Play series. I'm aware that most of my viewers are not subscribed. About 2% are subscribed, which means 98% of you people are not subscribed. You guys should definitely subscribe to my channel. You're obviously enjoying my content if you're staying this long while I talk about other video games besides Minecraft as I play Minecraft. You should definitely consider subscribing. You should like my video, obviously, because you're obviously enjoying the content. Helps me, helps the channel, tells YouTube that it should definitely recommend more videos similar to this format, or similar to this method of recording. where I am, sitting here just kind of talking about whatever is on my mind. The various things which I talk about can be very complex. Therefore, things can, of course, get somewhat confusing at times. However, the context, the content of my videos is very informative and should definitely be something that you think about saving, committing it to memory and all that, because it's a lot of stuff. It's useful information, because if you, for example, missed something in one of these games, you would be able to find out that you missed it because I'm sitting here telling you what experiences I've seen in the games, and you're able to say, hey, I didn't get that ending. I want to go play that game again. Like Prince of Persia Warrior Within. If you didn't get all of the life upgrades, then yeah, you probably wouldn't know that the Prince of Persia actually defeats the Dahaka at the end. Some people think that the Prince of Persia dies to the Dahaka at the end. It's like, no, Prince of Persia survived. All you had to do was get all of the life upgrades. And if you played Two Towers, there was actually a hint at this in the opening sequence where he says, a lot of people think I died out there in, the middle of nowhere to this Dahaka creature that was hunting me. The Guardian of Time was hunting me. And yet instead I triumphed because I saved her life instead of killing her. I spared her. And that saved my life. I help you, you help me type of situation. And so because of that, she ended up, she ended up living long enough to die at someone else's hands, and then that guy became a monster, and then you had to go kill the monster, and it's this long, involved story. And that's Two Thrones. The Prince of Persia's dad dies either way. Kind of a bummer on that, but it is what it is. It's fine, I guess. Let's see. It's almost sunset, so I should definitely need to rest soon. However, first I should deposit the materials, as I have lots and lots and lots of dirt. Okay, and then I need to go here, deposit those. Need to deposit that into my inventory so that I'm not just running around with that. And then I need to make a bunch of shovels. I can make 4, so I shall. Which is actually the perfect number for me at the moment, because that's how many extra slots I have on my hotbar available for more tools. So yeah, Dragonis had, realized the dangers of potentially altering the timeline. Therefore, Dragonis did not want to alter the timeline too much, because if she did, she might invoke some Guardian of Time or something that might be very angry with her for possibly very good reason. She didn't know yet. She hadn't altered the timeline that much yet, so she wasn't sure if there was a Guardian of Time, and she wasn't really ready to find out. If she was going to alter the time drastically, she was going to need to be very much more prepared than she currently was. You know? More on that later. Spoilers. So Dragonus definitely did do a lot of things, as you can tell. I've been talking about her a lot. She did many, many different things. She got into lots of trouble. She got up to a lot of shenanigans. So many shenanigans. Dragonus's biggest... Her biggest feature that she had acquired, that she had accrued, was that Dragonus was very adept at not dying. That was her universal constant. She was very, very much unkillable. Because of that, Dragonus earned the nickname Dragonus the Undying, because she was just not able to die. You know, she wouldn't stay dead. They'd drop her down to 0 and she'd get back up again. And it got to the point where, I started looking up the song from, oh gosh, which band was that? Smash Mouth. I started looking up a specific song from Smash Mouth, much to the chagrin of the GM. It was like, oh my god, no, not that song. Anything but that song. It's like, Make Me. He was like, what? I was like, Make Me. Go ahead. Prove the song wrong. He was like, oh, don't get me wrong, I'm trying. I was like, I know, but you still haven't done it yet, have you? Keyword is yet. It's like, yeah, I know. But until then, I get knocked down. I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. He was like, fuck you, man. Fuck you. Okay. So, you know, he was comedically upset, you know, because he was trying to kill off my character. He didn't like my character, that specific GM. Not Steve. Steve liked Dragonus. Steve thought Dragonus was great. Very creative, very inventive. He loved it. More importantly, she had the power to alter time, and yet she managed to decide on her own that it was best used as a last resort. Which came in handy once because, let's see, last I mentioned Dragonus was out at sea, I believe. Which means Dragonus was going into the deep oceans. The deep oceans, of course, being extremely dangerous, especially compared to just, you know, the coast. If you're on the coast, it's like, okay, yeah, it's a little dangerous, but it's the coast, you know? You can always just run up on land if it's a water creature. Most of the big creatures stay out in the deep ocean because, you know, it's a really big creature, so it's going to be dangerous, but at the same time, it can't fit on the coast. It can't fit on the various shoals, the various coral reefs and all that. It can't squeeze up there without, you know, surfacing. And in order to do that, it's got to be able to breathe air as well as water. It's got to be amphibious, you know? So that leads to that whole rabbit hole of, do you have this ability? Yes or no. Do you have that ability? Yes or no. And you got to figure all that out. And but like Dragonus didn't have to worry about that because Dragonus, was on a boat, and the fishing boat that she had chartered, that's the word for it, chartered. I couldn't remember it last time that I tried to think of the word, and that's the word. She had chartered a boat, which means she had, reserved the boat for her use with someone else driving. Because she herself was not a sailor, but she needed to cross the ocean. I don't remember what her quest was across the ocean. I don't even remember why she was crossing the ocean, but she was crossing the ocean. This whole situation, these events all happened, let's see, if I'm 31 now and I was 18 when it happened, that would be, like 13 years ago, all of this happened. Therefore, all these story events happened. Therefore, Dragonus definitely had her work cut out for her. She, but by which I mean she had a difficult task ahead, is what that means. If she had her work cut out for her, it means she had a difficult task that she was attempting to accomplish. And that difficult task was she was trying to cross the ocean with a dragon that can't fly in a boat that was made for fishing along the coastline. So she had to go equip the little tiny fishing boat that she had chartered with something that would give it a chance to survive if they encountered something in the deep ocean. Ooh, blue ice. Nice. Ooh, a sunflower. I actually need one of those. I might get this guy to... I might go retrieve my emeralds, because I do need sunflowers. However, these llamas have proven quite